Before I start this video, I have to shill, pay the bill. Sorry. Raid Shadow Legend. No, it's not that. I wish. I actually wish. No, but I'd like to just get your heads up through my main channel, 40K subs. Tommy C's SFTP. We do a podcast called Shot from the Point, and we talk about Onision, everything. We talk about trending topics, anything that's like the culture of the internet, and we laugh at it. A little bit of warning. It's toxic. It's bully type comedy in the vein of Howard Stern and that kind. If it's not for you, then I highly don't recommend it. I show a different side of my personality. I try to be a little more fact-oriented here, but over there, it's a good laugh. If that sounds like it's for you, check it out. If not, that's cool too. Here's a video. I would be shaking in my boots if I was Onision now. Chris Hansen reports that 19 separate law enforcement cases, law enforcement investigations are open on Onision now. Hi, I'm Tommy C, and this is Shot from the Point News. Look, if Onision committed a provable statute crime, if those alleged victims are going to get justice, I think last night marks a turning point. Why? For the first time on Have a Seat with Chris Hansen, he spoke with law enforcement directly. And I think a lot of the questions that I think made the anti-O crowd very anxious, and I share those feelings with them. I even wondered aloud if there was an FBI investigation back in November and October, because it didn't seem to be going anywhere. I don't get that feeling now. I think last night marks a time where this investigation got professional and got organized. And I also think that Chris Hansen tied up a ton of loose ends when it came to his relationship with the YouTube community. I'll be covering that right here. But first, here we go. Probably one of the biggest questions, Sarah's laptop. Of course, you might know that Vincent Lacotra, the former co-host and web producer for Chris Hansen, has been let go. And I think the straw that broke the camel's back, I think most people know that he had possession of Sarah's laptop and it was not sent to the FBI. It had been sitting on his desk since November, and that angered a lot of people naturally, and it led to his termination, separation. And that's a completely different story in itself. You can follow that here on Shot from the Point News. We've covered some of Vincent's hijinks since he's been let go from the project. But let's stick to the stuff that's actually important, or what I think is important, and what's going to move this case forward. Not all the sideshow that's going on, this circus that seems to be going on alongside of the investigation. Today, I felt like it was really professional. Today, I think some real progress has been made. I'm going to watch some of these videos with you. I'm going to go over them. But first, Sarah's laptop. Vincent. I got Vincent on the brain. Chris talks about Sarah's laptop.
Spoke with the FBI today, and they are now making arrangements to get the laptop and cell phone of Sarah, one of the victims in this investigation. So that is proceeding.
All right. I take a lot more confidence with the way that he said that. He's got this gentleman in Toyer on. From the PCSD. I mean, the fact that he's simply talking to law enforcement, the fact that, I mean, they claim that there's this many cases open. I mean, I feel a lot more comfortable knowing that I guess, I wonder if you guys felt like I did. Like, I felt like there's a lot of screaming going on in the internet, but the people that could do something about this couldn't hear it. I no longer feel that way. And I can't imagine that Chris Hansen would risk so much after taking such a beating from the public, maybe a deserved beating, over the Vincent Lacotra situation. So here is Chris Hansen talking with Ed Toyer of the PCSD with more information that has to do with law enforcement.
You've had 19 calls to that house in 2019 alone. Is that unusual?
That's very unusual. As you know, probably most of your viewers, yourself and myself, we don't get a single call a year, let alone 19. And they have a lot of different types of aspects to the calls, whether there's turmoil at the residence, whether we're getting calls from across the country reporting possible sexual abuse, all the way from a kid falling out the window to fake swatting 911 type calls where people from across the country are using that address to send the police and our deputies to that residence. So anytime we go to that residence, our radar's up and we're checking things out we need to get.
I spoke with an FBI agent today in reference to computer and phone that one of the alleged victims has that may contain some criminal evidence in this case. Is the sheriff's department cooperating with the FBI in one big investigation, or are they two separate investigations, or how is that working out?
Well, right now, even though it may seem like two separate investigations, unlike television, we work very well with the FBI. And one of the things that we'll do is we'll share information, because we have access to information that they don't, because he's local in our jurisdiction, and they have information that we don't. So once we get it all put together, there's a couple different paths. It could either go federal or it could go through the state prosecutor. And that'll be up to the prosecutors when it gets to that particular point. But we work well with the FBI, and our detective will be swapping information with them.
So the first thing that Ed tells us, he's well aware of the Onision situation. He talks about some swatting incidents and stuff that you guys shouldn't be doing, but he also seems to let us know that some of these calls they take very, very seriously, and there seems to be some merit to them. The other thing Officer Torre does, which makes me feel a lot better, he absolutely confirms that they're working with the FBI, going so far to point out that Hollywood movies that depict the local cops with the feds relationship being kind of shaky at times, that's not really true at all. They work quite well with them, and there's information they have that can help the FBI with an investigation move forward. This is an absolute confirmation. This is where Onision should be really, scared. One of the things that surprised me about this Have a Seat, I initially saw the accident that Onision's child fell from a second-story window as just that, an accident. It does look like, with the words that Officer Torre uses, that there may be some culpability, or at very least they're investigating if Onision or Kai have some kind of responsibility, maybe criminal responsibility for that event. I'll let them explain.
Let's talk first of all about this incident where the child fell out the window. Obviously, we're not going to identify the child, but it is the daughter of Jackson and his spouse, Kai. What can you tell me about that? I've seen the police report. There was an investigation. Do you know the status of that investigation right now in terms of any negligence or any criminal involvement?
What we do here is we have taken all the police reports from that residence, and we have a detective that's putting them all together, including that case. And it'll be up to the prosecutor to decide once we get all the facts and information together. But, it just seems we just keep going to the same place, and we'll get all the information put together, and we'll get it to the prosecutor. And then the prosecutor is the one that actually decides if charges would be filed. And that's in the process of happening as we learn more and dig deeper into it. They're not always fully cooperative with us, and we're well aware of who they are. In this particular case, the good news is that the kid's okay. By some lucky bounces and some different things, the kid actually is going to be just fine. Sure could have turned out differently, though.
So Officer Torre makes it abundantly clear that they are gathering information to present it to the district attorney. Ultimately, that is going to be his decision with that information to prosecute or not prosecute. But it just shows you that they are that concerned that they don't see this as just a no-fault accident. The police see this as there's possible criminal culpability there, and that's going to be up to the district attorney. I have to wonder out loud, of course, this is pure speculation on my point, the fact that Onision had filmed the event, maybe rubbed them the wrong way. Onision thinks he's covering his butt, but the way they look at it is there's something wrong here, and maybe they gave a second look, and maybe that second look led to, wait a minute, there's criminal culpability here. We're going to send this up to the DA to see if they want to prosecute. This next part of the video really doesn't have much to do with the Onision case, but it is important nonetheless. YouTube is engaged. And when I say YouTube, I don't mean corporate YouTube. I mean YouTubers and YouTube fans, for lack of a better word. This addresses some of the issues with copyright, with Vincent Lacotra, with the circus that is kind of surrounding this investigation. I think Chris does a really good job in handling this. And I think I've been right all along. He doesn't have the experience on the internet. He doesn't know the etiquette, but this shows me that he wants to learn and he wants to cooperate. He hasn't come down, in my opinion, as, look, I'm NBC Dateline. You guys are a bunch of amateurs. You loser. He wants to work with the community. He wants to be a part of it, and he does an excellent job here, I think, correcting something that could really affect the investigation negatively later on.
One other thing I want to mention tonight, and you probably heard that my former so-called web producer, I say that loosely because mostly what he produced in the end was chaos, confusion, and a distraction from our very important investigation and the sensitivity towards the victims in the investigation. Along the way, he thought it necessary to hit some YouTube streamers with copyright strikes. Now, he first did this this past summer, and he did it after explaining to me that it had to be done to protect the previous YouTube channel that I had. Subsequent to that, I realized that was not necessary. I asked him to revoke all the strikes he made then, and he did some of them. I don't know if he did all of them. I asked him never to do that again under any circumstances. He did about a month ago, and some channels were hit. I instructed him to withdraw the strikes again. This is one of the issues that I had with him and why he no longer works with me. But I want to make it very clear that now that I understand the ramifications, the motive behind it perhaps, I want to apologize to some of the people who were hit. Joey TCAP, Yap Yap, Wes, Baked Salmon, and any others who...
Is it me? It's just the fact that he has to say these internet handles just make you laugh, because it's making me laugh.
Took a strike from my former so-called web producer. I apologize. If there are any issues lingering out there, let me know. I'll address it as best as I can. Joey TCAP knows how to get a hold of me, and go through. Anyway, with that piece of business settled, it is time for us to move on and continue this investigation. We will do so ethically and with a lot of energy. So I appreciate you tuning in. I will check in along the way, and I will see you next Wednesday when I have a seat. Take care.
So I think it's very clear to me. He even says that he didn't understand the ramifications. And that's great. That's fantastic. That means he's getting it and he's making adjustments, and that's all you can ask for. You really can't throw somebody in this world and expect them to know anything. When I was thrown in 3 years ago, or almost 4 years ago now, I made terrible mistakes. I thought the things that applied, in my experience, applied online. They don't. And he's adjusting. He's not coming in there with his nose in the air and saying, I'm a famous journalist, everybody bend to my will. The internet's got to bend to my will. He's bending to the internet's will, because that, at the bottom line, that's what's going to get this case solved. And hey, circus is closed. The big tent has been pulled down. And I couldn't be more excited. I haven't been this excited about this investigation since I heard Chris Hansen was getting involved. And I think it's only up from here. This was a big day, and I do, again, think it's a turning point.